Hi guys, it's Rachel. I have a little bit of a different video for you today. It's very bullet journal adjacent though. This is going to be me setting up my new knitting bullet journal. Um, Earlier this month, I went on a trip to Seattle and I had the joy of seeing my friend Journal with Ray and my friend Wit's Journals reading journals in person. And I guess a reading journal has never really spoken to me because I'm the kind of person that really likes to reread books and has a hard time forgetting details. So, I don't want to keep track of books, if that makes sense. But it kind of jiggled this idea in my brain about what keeping a second journal would look like for me. And at the time, I was working on a couple knitting projects, and I tend to really mark up my knitting patterns. I get really I really like to write down how I interpreted the directions and be able to repeat it for the second sleeve or second sock or etc etc. I like to know everything that I was thinking about at any point. And so I kind of started getting the idea that maybe making a knitting journal would be a really useful tool for me, kind of as a reflective tool, kind of as a creative outlet to keep track of my projects and maybe share them a little more on here and on my Instagram. So I decided to just kind of take the leap here. You might notice that I used my 2021 first bullet journal for this. This is the only bullet journal that I have ever dropped off using. It still had more than half the pages in it, and I don't really have a good reason for why I dropped off using it, besides that it was really cumbersome to carry around, because as you can see, it's kind of like an A4 printer paper full-sized notebook, and it was kind of cumbersome. And also I think I was at a point where the best thing for me was just to take a break from the practice for a while and reset. And I ended up coming back to bullet journaling a few months later with a different notebook and using it more than I ever used this one. I think the break was really good for me, but it meant that I just had this notebook floating around. So I thought it might be a good tool to do this knitting journal in. Just kind of flip to a new spread and start afresh. And that way I also wouldn't put too much pressure on myself with buying a new notebook and blah 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 blah. It would just kind of be there, something I already had. So a couple things that are my intentions for this notebook. I do want to use something similar to a bullet journal framework. If you've read the Ryder Carroll book or watched his videos about the practice of bullet journaling, something that I find really inspiring about it is having these different symbols and different shorthands for archiving information, collecting memories, and being able to refer back to them and find stuff. So at this point, I decided that the simplest, kind of easiest, low commitment, low stress way to start this was just to start by writing kind of what some of my whips are. That's what you see kind of up in that top left-hand page. Right now I'm working on an Umbria summer top. I have modified the Oslo hat pattern to fit some lighter weight yarn, and I actually just casted this off. I need to update my journal already. The Umbria sock, the Umbria was the top. The Bouchette socks. Those are blocked. I should go get them. They're probably dry. Anyways, and then just go into a little bit more detail about information that I think I would want to remember about the pattern itself, my experience knitting it, the specs of yarn, size, gauge, modifications I used, if I held two yarns together, what needle size, and what gauge my needle size gave me, because sometimes I go a little off script if the fabric is like too loose or too tight for the yarn I want to use. And then like a start date and a finish date. So this is like a bad time to talk about this, but on that left-hand page, or you can't see right now, I went through and kind of quickly, like I tried really hard not to think too much about it, but just quickly brainstormed some symbols to use as my like bullet journal symbols for this knitting journal. I ended up with a little list of a few that I think will be useful. I left a little space at the bottom to see if I decided to add more, and I can always like untape it and tape in a new one if I decide that I really like want to rehaul the system. But I think I'm pretty happy with it. I think they turned out just simple enough to be really useful to me, but still very, very like intuitive, like an image that makes sense. Yeah, so I literally drew them out on a scrap of paper that I found already stuffed into this notebook, cut that up, stuck it in there, and yeah, I didn't use them for my entry about my Umbria summer top. That's on that upper right-hand page there, but I just wrote out the words, and then I was like, oh, well, I should make symbols, and then I made symbols, and then I used the symbols for the next one. Yeah, so I did a little like arrow for start, a square for stop, a yarn ball-ish thing for yarn, two little needles for needles, a little like measuring symbol kind of for gauge, a button for notions, and there was something else that I thought was important, but I think I forgot to make a symbol for. Oh, size knitted. I'm not quite sure about that yet. We'll see. I was playing with the idea of like a little sweater or a little mitten, but I didn't love how either of those turned out, and I didn't think I'd be able to draw them consistently. Yeah. Yeah, so I guess my vision for this is I would create an entry for every new project that I decide to take on. Maybe stick in some yarn ball labels like I did with the Sadness Garn Tin Lin yarn that I'm using for my Umbria top. And then, you know, have some space to talk about my thoughts on the pattern, thoughts on the yarn, things that I might think about if I ever decide to knit again. And, you know, as I post this more, you guys can also, you know, get my take on different projects and different yarns for those projects, if that's something that you're interested in. I recently finished a tulip top also by Melody Hoffman, and I'm going to be cutting some of that footage in here. I think I showed it near the start of the video. That was kind of a funny one. I miscounted my repeats because I'd done some modifications, and one of my sleeves ended up like 14 rows shorter than the other one. So you have some aesthetic wool and yarn footage of me reknitting that, um, even after it's been blocked. What else? Oh, and then I also added a little section to kind of collect my, priorities for stuff that's coming up, things that I have in mind. I feel like many makers, my eyes are kind of bigger than my stomach as far as what I can, actually stitch up. So I think it's kind of fun to be able to collect all those ideas and then simmer on them for a while I finish my current whips and then figure out what's important to me next. I guess something that is really important to me next is I'm currently working on my first one of my own pattern designs. I came up with a cute leg warmer design because I'm a ballet dancer and I love knitting, so I thought it would be fun to make my own leg warmers. And I couldn't find anything that was quite what I was looking for, so I decided, it's a pretty simple construction. Maybe I could try my hand at pattern writing. And right now I'm size grading it, and I'm about to knit my second sample, which is what the upcoming project would be. And so hopefully that'll be able to release kind of this fall. My dream is to have my second pair of leg warmers done before Nutcracker season starts and life gets really crazy, but we'll see. I already have the yarn for it and everything. I'm just in the process of grading a particularly tricky part of the pattern to size grade, but we're almost there. So hopefully those get casted on pretty soon. I'm also working on a slip-over vest called the Werner vest, which I'm very, very excited about. I actually cast that on just last night as I'm recording this voiceover, which is just going to be a very, very simple white stockinette v-neck classic fitted vest that I can wear over button downs and layer for work. Kind of like Promise Neverland vibes, if you've seen that. I just love an all white button down shirt, white knitwear, light colored pants or skirt. That's the dream. That's my fall dream. That and my tulip sweater. Yeah. I'm trying to think what else I can tell you about my current projects. Right now, the one that I really want to get done is this Umbria summer top, which I can cut in here, and you saw at the beginning too. It's what I'm using, that Sandnes Garden yarn that you have the label right there for. It's been a little bit of a tricky knit. I think it's a gorgeous, gorgeous pattern, and it's just a quintessential summer knit. I'm using a beautiful yarn that is a little tricky to work with, but is creating just the most gorgeous fabric ever, so light and airy, but also drapey and cool to the touch, because it's got cotton and linen and viscose blended in there, so it's a really cool fabric. It's just, this is turning into more of a product knit than a process knit, if you know what I mean. And I'm hoping to get that off my needles soon. I'm saving that bottom half of the page there for my tick sheet, because I ended up having to make a tick sheet on my phone notes to keep track of what rows I was doing decreases and what rows I was doing buttonholes, so that I wouldn't have to be counting all the time. And so that I'd have access to that on my phone. But I also wanted to put it in my journal because I wanted to keep track of that information for if I ever decide to knit another one. But I decided not to do that on camera because, first of all, that would take forever. Secondly, I'm I always film on my phone, and so I can't be like looking at my notes on my phone and also filming. And thirdly, I don't want to like, give away her pattern secrets. um, Without her permission. So, and then here I am doing just like a journal entry almost, which is something I can see myself doing in the future if I just have a day where I'm like, I want to write about what I'm working on and how I'm feeling and how it relates to like my life and my making journey. Yeah, I think I just wanted to write down a little bit also about how like I was starting this journal and how I thought this tool would work for me. Might have also been telling myself to block some knits. I can't quite read it from here. Yeah, so this next entry is about my tulip sweater, which now is finished, and I reknitted that sleeve and it's blocked, and I've been wearing it and I love it. Really, really beautiful, super quick, intuitive pattern with like a gorgeous fit and like just this super simple scallop detail at the hem that it looks so good. I love it. I might be knitting another one for a friend soon, and I'm really looking forward to it because it was a very fun pattern to knit. The only error was user error with me on the sleeves. I ended up having to knit. I knitted the upper arm to pattern. There's a certain decrease rate for the upper arm and a different decrease rate for the lower arm, and the upper arm decrease rate worked for me, but the lower arm like wasn't fitting over my elbow very nicely. Like the stitches just looked really like stretched out and it looked kind of bad. So I ended up like, instead of like lessening the number of rows between decreases, I actually like increased it, like doubled it, because of the shape of my arms, and that was the only modification that I really made. Yeah, and this pattern only took me like a month to work up, with also knitting on other projects at the same time. I believe that these are the only ones that I made entries for on camera right now, because I felt like this video was already getting pretty long, but I'm of course going to be writing. You saw a little glimpse of my pattern grading for the Oslo hat to change the gauge of it, so I'm going to be writing that in too, but again, that's like not my information to give away, so I probably won't do that on camera. Yeah, that one is really fun too. I went with my friend Rachel and her partner. We went to Portland for a day trip while I was in Seattle visiting her, and I got some really special yarn. I got, I'm really actually unclear on how it's pronounced. It's either like Isager, Isager, Essayer. You know what I mean, right? Isager yarn. I got a lace weight alpaca and a mohair. The alpaca's in this kind of cream color, and the mohair is in this like really pearly kind of like purple gray, like lustrous mohair. It's gorgeous, and it's turning into just the most beautiful Oslo hat. Yeah, so that's one of my current knits that is keeping me company. It's really fun. My Werner vest, and I'm still plugging away on that Umbria top. It's a slow knit, guys. I have never knitted with linen before, and this is only like, I don't know what the linen percentage is in this. I think I wrote it down in my entry for it, but it is really hard on your hands, and this is a very thin version of it, so I can't imagine what working with like a DK weight linen is when I'm getting tired from just a fingering weight. Um, but it's got kind of a different rhythm than knitting with like a stretchy fiber like wool or acrylic or like a cotton blend even. It just is like very unforgiving on your hands, so you have to like really focus and really get in the rhythm for it to make any progress, I guess. Um, and it's not one of those things where you can like set it down in the middle of the row and then pick it up and knit a couple stitches and set it down, because for me at least, I have to like really have my tension and my needle manipulation like on lock to make any progress without it being like really slow. So, and I like to like knit while I eat breakfast, so it's not like a super great fit for me personally. Not being able to set stuff down and pick it back up, but we're getting there. I'm really excited to have the finished object. Um, and yeah, there's the hem of my tulip. I think I'm counting how many rows I did before I started the scallops, which I don't count as a modification because it's something she mentions in the pattern, but yeah. What else? I guess I'm really excited about this knitting journal. I hope that you guys are, interested to see more of this side of my creative process. I'm hoping to get a couple more videos out during the last month and a half of summer, and yeah, I'm really, really in love with how these pages turned out. I forgot how much I enjoyed working in a notebook of this size. It is very cool because I feel like you have enough room to like really, really play around with your layouts and your photos. You can have, 3 photos on a page without it looking crowded. It's a different vibe. I'm really excited to use some of my cool new stationery that I got in Seattle and Portland to fill up some of these pages. Yeah. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that really should be said about it at this point. Oh yeah, I am slowly in the process of designing some kind of stickers for me to use in my knitting bullet journal, which depending on if I fix my printer and if I like them, I may put in my Etsy shop, but first I want to like try them and see how I feel about the sizes and stuff. So that might be coming, probably not until fall if it does come, but we'll see. We're in the process of it. Yeah, I'm very excited about this new bullet journal. I'm still, of course, using my other one day to day, my green one, loving it. Hopefully a little bit more of that will be on my Instagram soon, and a little bit of this as well. So I think I'm gonna leave off voiceover for now. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it. It was really exciting for me to like get to combine these 2 creative pursuits that I love so much. And yeah, I hope you have a great rest of your day. I hope you got some inspiration from this video. And let me know if you keep any kind of knitting or making journal, or just any journal that you use outside of a regular bullet journal to track some other cool part of your life that you want to journal about. Yeah. All right, I will see you next time. Bye.